This is The Space Shot, episode 166 for October 27th, 2017. The Saturn 1, SA-1. Hey everyone, welcome to The Space Shot, your daily space history, pop culture, and news fix. I'm John Molnix. If you listened to yesterday's episode of The Space Shot, you should check out the accompanying piece I wrote at medium.com. I've included a lot of pictures from the Vandenberg launch site, and there's some pretty spectacular ones in that post. Also, I'd like to take the opportunity to ask everyone that's been listening to tag a friend that might enjoy the podcast. I absolutely love sharing the stories of the people, missions, and technology behind the space history topics we talk about every day. I'd love to share these stories with even more people, so do me a favor and tag one of your friends. On October 27, 1961, the first Saturn 1 launch vehicle lifted off from Cape Canaveral. The Saturn 1 was a much more powerful rocket than the ones that NASA had launched up to that point, due to the requirements of reaching the moon for Apollo. This first test was only for the first stage of the vehicle. The second and third stages were ballasted with water to simulate how a fully loaded vehicle would perform. After a short weather hold, it was time to test the Saturn 1. On a NASA history website, I found this description of the initial seconds of the launch, and I want to share all of it here. Quote, "Launch came when the ground launch sequencer ordered the firing of a solid propellant charge. The gases from the ignition accelerated a turbine that in turn drove fuel and liquid oxygen pumps. Hydraulic valves opened, allowing RP-1 and liquid oxygen into the combustion chambers, along with a hypergolic fluid that ignited the mixture. The engines fired in pairs, developing full thrust in 1.4 seconds. A final rough combustion check was followed by ejection of liquid oxygen and RP-1 fill masts from the booster base. The 4 hold-down arms released the rocket 3.97 seconds after first ignition, and the SA-1 was airborne." This Saturn 1 flew 206 miles downrange and reached an altitude of nearly 85 miles. I'll have a bit more about the Saturn 1 in the weekly wrap-up that I post every Sunday, so be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter so you can see those links. I've got 2 launch alerts before I go today. SpaceX is scheduled to launch a Falcon 9 rocket on Monday, October 30th, with a launch window opening at 3:34 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Thankfully, it's not in the middle of the night, so we can actually watch this one. SpaceX is deploying the KoreaSat 5A communications satellite, which will bring television and other communication services to Korea and other parts of Asia. On Tuesday, October 31st, a Minotaur C rocket is scheduled to lift off from Vandenberg Air Force Base. The Minotaur will be carrying 6 SkySats and 4 Doves for Planet, a commercial provider of satellite imagery. These small satellites are still able to provide images with pretty exceptional quality. I'm linking to SpaceX and Planet websites in the show notes for more detail about these launches, and I'll also share the link for the SpaceX webcast on Monday for the launch. Since you're here, why don't you let me know what you think of the podcast by leaving a review in iTunes? It takes just a minute to do that, and it makes a huge difference because it helps even more people find the show. As always, the show notes have more information on today's episode. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram and Twitter. Find me at John Molnix. I'm always up to chat. You can also connect with me on Facebook. Just search The Space Shot or click the link in the show notes. I'd appreciate it if you could share The Space Shot with your friends and family and anyone else that enjoys podcasts. Tomorrow, the first and only launch of Ares 1. I'm John Molnix, and I'll catch you on the flip side.